I have here a little binder that I use for our word times, our story times. I have a sheet or folder for each story. And for example, here's a story of Noah. These are just little phonograph pieces. Noah, his wife, and all the animals that we tell the story with. Here is the story of when Jesus calms the sea. All the disciples are in the boat. There's a little activity you can do, charades. And you can tell the story with these little silhouette pictures. So after we read the story for review and to see if the child has understood the story, he gets to tell it in his own words with these little silhouette pictures. And then we play a little charades game. Any little picture that I find related to the story, I just put a little color, sometimes not even, and laminate them, cut them out. For example, here's snowy, windy, sunny, and rainy. And we talk about the seasons while we're at it, we act these out, and we have to guess. So this just adds a little bit more to the story. Our next story here we have is Fishers of Men. Here's a little game that we play. As you can see, there are all different types of hats. There's a construction worker, a baseball player, there's a nurse's hat, a policeman's hat. There's little paper clips on, and we use a little magnetic fishing pole. And every time we pick one, we thank the Lord for the job that they do. And we talk about how Jesus called the disciples to be fishers of men after they were fishers of fish. So we relate it to anything that we do for the Lord. Maybe the Lord doesn't want us to be fishers of fish, but He wants to do more important jobs, be fishers of men. Here is a Choosing Disciples little game. Now there's a picture here with a story, or you can just read the story from the Bible, which is what we usually do. And here is a little game. There's little pictures related to the story. 12 disciples, they're fishing. There's Jesus catching lots of fish, and a little boat. And we have 6 little pictures. This is a little idea you can do with any story, really. You just pick 4 little theme pictures, or 6 little theme pictures, and then I write out the words, and I turn them around like this. As you can see, these were just little pieces of cardboard, and I wanted to be extra saving, so I used them for my little words. They're a little bit extra sturdy too. So I have here my 6 words and my 6 pictures. Now I pick one of the pictures, and I turn, oops, this is not it, and then you put them back. Then you can remember, ooh, this was the 12, so you get to pick this picture, and you have a pair, and on it goes. So it's another way to review the story. Or you can use keywords or important words, or draw little pictures of the lesson, of the story. I find that having little games like this really brings out the lesson and the story, especially for little children. They love this. And keeping it all together like this in a binder really helps. Here's Jesus chooses his disciples. Here's a picture of Jesus. I haven't finished this activity yet. And I was going to make a little hole, and you put the little disciples through the hole. I do my best for Jesus. This is whatever I'll be. Again, related to Jesus choosing his disciples. Now this little game, just show you a little part of it. Again, doing our best for Jesus, like his disciples. Jesus chose 12 men to be his disciples, just like Jesus chooses us to do different jobs for him. How we can do our best in whatever we do. So we talk about the story and the lesson, and we put out the pictures, and then we have to match them with it says I could be an astronaut, so he puts it on top of the astronaut. I could be secretary, and we talk about the different jobs, how these different jobs help us to be followers of Jesus, whether it's telling others about him or doing our best faithfully. That's doing our best for Jesus. Here's the story of the triumphant entry. So here's a little maze which they use their finger, and here's the story along with a little puzzle. Now this idea as well, you can do it with any story really. You just pick an object of the story or a person of the story. A little color, as you can see, I've done it very simply with just the outlines, and you cut them in three or four pieces, and they have to put it together. So that's the donkey. Even while you're doing it, you can be telling the story. Jesus rode on a donkey on his way to Jerusalem. Something like that. Or he can make up his own little sentence, or he can tell the story in his own words as he does the little activity. Next, I'm just showing you a few here. Here is what we do for memory review. I have these little booklets, memory chapters. Here's our booklet 1, it's the love chapter. This is teaching 1 Corinthians 13. So there's basically a picture for each verse, which I've just put together very simply. Basically just little line art or stick figures, but it helps them remember the verse, helps them to learn it. As you can see, though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not love, I am become as a sounding brass or tinkling cymbal. Though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I can remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. And on it goes, each verse, all the way to the end. So this really helps the child memorize, helps him to remember it, along with the picture, which helps him understand the meaning of it. And what I've included here is after he learns each verse, he gets to have a little heart. Or for review, he gets to have a heart. And if he knows the 13 verses in this chapter, he gets 13 hearts. Our next chapter is all on the armor of God. Ephesians 6:10 through 18. So once again, it's just the verse, very simply written, typed out, and with a little picture for each verse. And to add variety and fun, I've made here I printed these out, colored them very quickly with crayons. We have the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God, the helmet of salvation, your loins girt about with truth, your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace, shield of faith. So as we say our chapter and the verse that we memorized, each time he says the verse with one of these, he gets to keep it, and he builds his little soldier.